All right, and one of the greatest fights I've seen in a long time, one of the greatest fights in flyweight history, I think one of the greatest fights of the year, Figueiredo versus Moreno. Unbelievable fight. And I just want to say this first and foremost. I think it's absolutely incredible when you have championship fights where the fighters fight as if they're not in a 5-round fight. Or they're not fighting to fight a 5-round fight. We've seen in the past where a lot of champions and a lot of guys at this level, they play the game of winning, and they want to win each round, win more rounds, outpoint their opponents, and win the fight. These guys fought to finish from the beginning, absolutely from the beginning. It didn't happen, which I think is a good thing because it made one of the craziest fights I've seen in a long time. But it was, it was a barn burner. These guys tried to kill each other. And, I think Figueiredo came out really strong in the beginning and looked to form of himself. And this is another thing. He was sick before the fight. He had back-to-back fights, back-to-back weight cuts. It's hard to know exactly what the toll of that was on the fight. He did come out strong. He did come out in the beginning and was doing really well as to form as he usually does. But Moreno was unbelievably tough. He was absolutely, he would take everything that Figueiredo had and dish it right back. His takedowns were perfectly timed. Literally perfectly timed. Every time he had an opportunity, every time he got hurt, there was like an eye gouge kind of thing that happened, and he timed a perfect takedown. There was a couple other incidences where he timed a perfect takedown and just scored. And even on the ground, both just phenomenal fighters, fighting phenomenally from every single area. As far as the point being taken away from Figueiredo, I don't know. I don't think he should have been punished for that. But I do think it could have affected the fight, which brought Moreno to a level where he was less strong and effective as he would have been without that shot. So there's two ways to look at it. It's like you shouldn't punish somebody for an unintentional strike, but then again, if it changes the outcome of the fight and now your opponent becomes weaker and easier to beat, then it makes sense. As far as being a draw, I can't argue it. I can't argue it being a draw. I think Moreno did a massive amount of damage and put on a great fight. And with the point deduction, I wouldn't have been surprised if he walked away with the win. But being a draw, especially considering that the point was the big key issue. If the point wasn't taken away, then Figueiredo would have won the fight. And so for that reason, I think it's fair that, it was a draw and he didn't end up losing the fight over that point. So it's a fight that I think my end thoughts on are that I want to see it happen again. I want to see this fight happen again. I do want to mention that my guy, Manel Cap, was the backup fight for this, and it would have been an interesting fight to see him jump in there as well. Had somebody had to back out, and I'm extremely proud to have a guy from AK Thailand here come in there and be to a level where he was the backup fighter in case one of those fighters had COVID or backed out. He would have jumped in and been in the championship fight, possibly fighting for the championship. And considering Figueiredo fought the way he did, and that there could have been an issue with being sick or having back-to-back fights, and his performance had to have taken a little bit of a decline, it would have been, who knows what could have happened. But I just had to throw that in there. But anyway, hats off to Figueiredo and Moreno. Absolutely amazing fight. I want to see it happen again. I think they changed that entire division. I think the flyweight division got changed tonight. I think they brought a lot of attention, and I think there's going to be a lot of other flyweights that are going to see that, and they're going to want to do the same thing. We got Manel Cap, like I said, and some other explosive Fantasia, who he was supposed to fight, who actually has a win over Moreno. These are guys that are going to perform well. This division is going to definitely be one to watch in the future, and I'm happy to see that with these lighter guys, where in the past these fights got overlooked, these fighters got overlooked, and the fights were expected to not be good. So I think that this fight changed a lot of things today, and I'm very excited to see it. Was a very happy fan, and I think we got our money's worth. So good job to the UFC. Good job to all the fighters. Amazing job to Figueiredo and Moreno. And I am very excited to see them fight again. I hope they can run it back sooner than later, for sure.